Hey everyone! In this video today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make the vertical wave friendship bracelet. It's kind of like the candy wave's younger sibling almost, because the pattern works in about the same way that the candy wave does, but in my opinion, this bracelet is way easier to make. And I actually got inspired to do the variegated yarn here from Masha Knots on YouTube. I discovered her channel like a couple weeks ago and I absolutely love her videos. I did actually watch her video on how to make this bracelet, and while she does have a tutorial on this, and while a lot of other YouTubers probably have videos on this bracelet, I did want to make it a little bit different, and I wanted to cater this video a little bit more towards people who are still really new at making friendship bracelets, because I don't know about you guys, but I think candy stripes and chevrons get really boring really fast, and they are nice, but I love how this pattern looks so intricate, yet I think anyone who is very new with friendship bracelets can learn how to make this. So this video is going to have a bit of a slower speed to it. So if you aren't really interested in that for this video, then I of course suggest you go watch Masha's video, or I guess anybody else's for that matter, but I did want to slow this one down a little bit today, and hopefully I can do that justice for you guys. And I do think the variegated thread looks super cool with this pattern specifically, especially when you have super contrasting colors. Like here I did complementary colors, and I think it turned out absolutely amazing. So if you guys want to learn how to make this bracelet, then go ahead and keep on watching. So the first, and of course probably the most important thing you will need for a friendship bracelet, obviously, is the thread. For those of you who are really just starting out, I wanted to buy this pack of thread because, sure, DMC is a great brand and the thread looks much more soft than these ones do, if you can kind of tell. The strands in this embroidery floss are twisted together, whereas the DMC brand is much more soft. If it'll focus on that. And the strands don't really intertwine with each other, so these threads can pull apart. I bought this pack at Walmart for only $10, and it comes with quite a nice selection of thread, actually. And I love that it gives you a bunch of black and white skeins as well. Now, is DMC thread going to be better than Walmart thread? I would say, honestly, they are all really nice threads to work with. I honestly don't believe that one brand is better than the other. Now, would I use this with this as well to make a bracelet? That I'm not so sure of, just because both threads are going to vary in thickness, like just the tiniest bit. And then of course you are going to need a pair of scissors. Any kind will do. You don't need anything this fancy. I honestly got these 40% off at Hobby Lobby because it is in the shape of a bird and I really like birds. So this is the only reason why I bought those scissors, but I absolutely love how tiny they are and they can cut thread pretty well. And then of course you are going to need a flat surface with either a piece of tape, a safety pin, or my favorite method is the clipboard. And I glued down some felt onto it just because I like when the strings kind of have something to stick to, I guess, while I'm working with it. And a clipboard is super cheap. I bought this for probably $1. But of course there is absolutely nothing wrong with using tape. If you do use tape though, I do not recommend using washi tape because it is not sticky whatsoever. So make sure you do stay away from that at least. But that is all you need for this bracelet. So for starters, how many strings do you need and how long do they need to be? The reason I think this bracelet is perfect for beginners is because you can use as many strings as you want. For this bracelet, I used a total of 10 strings, and the thickness honestly isn't too bad. But for this one, I used 8 in total, and that is a pretty good number for me personally. I tend to gravitate towards the thinner bracelets. But of course, the amount you use is totally up to you. You can use an even number, you can use an odd number, whatever you want to use. We need base strands, and then we want our 2 colors. And the really wonderful thing about the base strands is that they're actually going to be as big as your wrist is, plus the extra inches you need to make the ties at the end. So really quick, I'm going to crack open this tube and pick out my colors. And one thing to note really fast is your base strands can seriously be any color that you want them to be. Like for this one, I made my base strings black to knot onto. But of course, keep in mind your tails are going to show whatever color you used. So just keep that in mind. I actually did orange underneath this bracelet here. And of course, that doesn't really match very well, but at the same time, when you're wearing a bracelet, people are only going to see the pattern, and really they're not going to pay attention to the inside of your wrist. So because I have so much white and black, I'm actually going to go ahead and just pick, let's go for white. And then for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to do super contrasting colors, just so that way it makes it easier for you guys to see. One thing I will say that I don't like about these cheaper brands is that the paper on these comes off very easily, and it can be very frustrating to work with the skein. So I'm just going to go with these 2 contrasting pink colors, even though I already have a pink bracelet right here. And to measure our base strings, like I said, it is going to be as big as your wrist is. So you just want to take the thread and wrap it around your wrist very loosely, and then just pull it out a little bit. So that way, you know what? I'm going to use black so that it doesn't blend in with my clipboard so much. So like I was saying, you want to make it as big as your wrist, but you also want to leave a pretty large amount left over, just so that way you have enough strings left over for your ties. So I don't have a good measurement for this. Of course, everyone's wrist is going to be a different size. So just measure off of yours and it'll work out perfectly. The string does look very short, but I promise it works. And like I said, you can use any amount that you want, but I am going to stick to 6 base strings because we are going to have 2 extra strings from our working strings, so I want to have 6 base strings. So go ahead and, not even perfectly at all, just match up your threads and cut as many as you want. If you want to follow along, I am going to be cutting off 6 pieces. Alright, and now I have my 6 strings. I'm going to go ahead and put this color away because we do not need it anymore. And another thing that is really great for beginner levels with this bracelet is that we don't even have to measure these strings at all. And I actually got this idea from Masha as well, just to give her credit. But we are actually going to tie our working strands onto our base strands, and we are going to keep this attached the whole way through. And on the skein like this with the paper, it does get a little bit annoying to work with, and I prefer using bobbins if I ever work attached to something. But even if your paper does end up falling off, like I'm sure mine will eventually, it's still pretty easy to work with. Just be very careful that you don't get your threads tangled, because even though it's easy to fix, it's just a pain in the butt that we really don't want to deal with. So go ahead and pull out just a little bit, and we are just going to attach it straight on to our strands like this. And then we are going to take our strands and tie a very loose knot. Can't stress that enough. Make sure it is very loose. And make sure that your tail is pretty long especially if you accounted for that, it'll be fine, but leave a pretty good sized tail so that way we can make our braided ends later on. And then tape it down, clip it down, whatever method you chose. Go ahead and secure it, and then we can get started on this bracelet. Now, whichever side you want your colors to be on is up to you and your preference. It's going to look pretty neat either way, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it like that. And then we want to take our base strands and lay them out just so that way we can see everything and know exactly what order we want to knot in. Even though they are all the same color, it doesn't really matter what order they're in, but I think laying it out just helps to see it a little more visually. And what we want to do now is take one of our colors and just kind of throw it off to the side, because we are only going to knot onto our base strands and we don't want to knot onto our colors whatsoever throughout this pattern. So I want to start with my color on the left side. Technically, you could start on the right if you wanted to, but for tutorial's sake, of course, I'm going to start on the left. So I am putting my right color out of the way for now. Just act like it's not even there and focus only on these strands. So what we want to do is make forward knots on every single one of these strands and get our color from the left side to the right. And I won't totally explain how to do a forward and backward knot. There are a lot of videos out there explaining how to do that, but I will still show you. We are going to take our very first strand next to our color and we are going to knot on top of this. So to make our forward knot, you make a shape of a 4 and you are going to put that thread through that loop underneath these strands, pull it through, and you want to do that twice to complete one full forward knot. And now that we have that finished, we can actually take this base strand and move it off to the side and pick up our next strand right here. And do the same thing. We are going to make a shape of a 4 and cross underneath these and pull that through to make a forward knot. Make sure you do that twice to make one complete forward knot. And then take this working strand and bring it off to the side and repeat that on all the rest of our strings. So again, forward knot. That's one time, and this will be our second time. Move this off to the side, bring up the next base strand, and do it again. Move that off to the side, pick up the next one, and do that again. And then last one, another forward knot. And that is what you do there. So now our first color is next to our second color, but we actually want to bring our first color back to the left side. So we need to do backward knots. And of course, that is pretty self-explanatory. You are going to make a backwards 4 or a P shape and go underneath and go through that loop, pull up, and then do it one more time. So that way we make a full knot. Done with this base strand, put it off to the side, pick up our next one, and repeat that again on all of our strings until we get our first color to the other side. All right, and now we have this back on the left side, and for our next step, we actually won't need to be using that second color, and like I said, we don't want to knot onto any of our colored working strands. So you can take this and put it off to the side, just forget about it for now. And we are going to take our second color and pretty much kind of mirror what we just did. So first, we are actually going to do backward knots on all of our base strands until we get our second color onto the left side. So again, backwards 4 or a P shape onto our very first thread here. And then pull. And when you get to these little corner pieces here, your string might not want to lay super flat. So if that happens, just kind of wiggle your string around a little bit up here, and you can manipulate it in the way that you need to get it in the right spot to properly curve around this section without having it completely stick out. So we just knotted onto this base strand right here, so we can put that off to the side, pick up our second one, and again do a backward knot onto it. And then we can put that off to the side and repeat on all of our base strands until we get our second color onto the left. And there we are with that. And now, like we did the first time, we want to take our second color and bring it back over to the right side. So to bring it back over, we need to do forward knots, of course. So take our first base strand and one more time, make a 4 and bring it under and through that loop. And then do it a second time, so that way we make a full forward knot. Take that base strand and put it off to the side and pick up our second one and do a forward knot onto that one. Off to the side, and just keep repeating that on all of our strings until we get our color back to the right side. And there we are. We have our second color back on the right side, and now you can bring your first color on the left and repeat that whole process over and over until you have your finished product, which will look something like this. These really awesome little waves. I think this bracelet in particular is going to be so much more fun to do than just a regular candy stripe. It has a little bit more of dimension to it, and it makes it look a little bit more interesting and hopefully a bit more exciting to work with if you are at a beginner level. And really quick, I am going to slide this over so that way I can show you guys really quick how we want to make our ties at the end of our bracelet. Once you learn a little bit more about friendship bracelets in general, you can do really fun things like covered loops and even twisting your ends. You can fishtail braid them, but I'm going to keep it simple and sweet, and we are going to really quick do simple braids. Now, when I work with bracelets, I tend to like to make my ties on my top end first, where my knot is, just because I know that when I do finish this bracelet, more often than not, I will have much more tail space down here than I will up top. And if you do want your tails to be pretty even, I would start up at the top and braid there first, and then you can match whatever you had down here. So really quick, I am going to clip this on and just show you really quickly a simple braid. And because we have tails on both ends, we only need to do one braid on each end to tie together. So separate your strands equally as best as you can into 3, of course, and The length of this braid is going to be totally up to you and how long you need to make them. And I am just going to braid down quite a ways, and then when I'm done, I am going to bring my second tail over and kind of try to match the knots as well as I can. So this is probably long enough. I'm going to release my bracelet, and what I like to do is start tying the knot and make it really loose. And then I will fold the bracelet in half and kind of try to match the knots as well as I can. I don't typically ever make this perfect, so just get as close as you can. Pull it really tight just so that you know all the strands are extremely secure, and you can go ahead and clip off these extra strings and clip them off pretty close to this knot, because trust me, this knot will not undo. Especially if you pulled it really tight. But then once you have that, you can of course put it on your wrist and tie it in a knot. And if you do want to get really fancy, you can do things like square knots to make adjustable bracelets such as this. But there are plenty of videos out there on how to do that, and for the sake of beginner level, I will just keep it at that. And that is seriously all you do for this bracelet. Just keep repeating that same pattern throughout the whole bracelet, and then you'll get some really cool looking designs. I would say I am pretty advanced with friendship bracelets. I've been doing them for a really long time, but sometimes it's really fun just to go back to these really simple patterns and they look amazing. So thank you guys so much for watching this video today. I really do appreciate every single one of you who watch my videos and follow my channel, all of that stuff. So I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video today. And for those of you who are beginners, I really do hope that I explained this really well. If you do have any questions or anything that you're confused about, feel free to leave me a comment and I will help you out as best I can. But anyway, guys, that is it for this video today, and I will see you in the next one.